Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. This is going to be the December 2024 kit release compilation, recorded slightly past New Year's. Uh, so, another year with this video has gone by. It's been a very interesting year in terms of kit releases and things of that nature. Um, this video continues with a trend that we've had for the last several months, where there are several modified reissues, and there's also a brand new tool in this from Aoshima. I don't see a lot of new tool stuff out of those guys, so good to see that. And we have the regular sort of sprinkling of assorted domestic and international releases as usual. The very interesting thing here is this would sort of be the last of the Tokyo Hobby and Model Show releases that were previewed way back in the show's in October, previewed in September, and so there are several kits here from Hasegawa that have a lot of new parts added to them. So that'll be the crux of the video in terms of new information. As the other things are reissues, but none of them are terribly new reissues. So starting out on the domestic side of things, like we always do, we have kits from round 2 from Revell, actually, as well as the folks over at Atlantis. Don't see a lot out of those guys on a month-to-month basis, as well as Mobius and Salvino's JR. So it was a pretty hefty month, all in all, over here in America. On round 2, 2 releases. First up, you have this AMT release of the 64.5 Mustang hardtop in the big 1/16 scale. This kit goes back quite a while. This is sort of a Matchbox era, late 70s box art that they're using in this case, but the kit goes back to at least that point. I should have written down, I probably have written down somewhere notes on this video, but I didn't record it back when notes were made, so I don't know where those notes went off to. But this kit, again, has been around for at least 45 years. So nothing new there. If you've built one of these in the past, or you've seen one of them in the past, nothing new about this at all. Just obviously there'd be a fresh sheet of decals in here and using the vintage box art, but otherwise it is a just standard carryover. The other kit is from the Custom Cruisers line, which, as we've gone over these over the last several months, these are sort of the B side of a lot of the Mueller era AMT kits. This is the 1964 Starliner. So this has the leg pipes and the custom wheels and a few other odds and ends that were in a Street Machine custom release only. I think some of these parts did see it into the most previous Ford Starliner before this, but otherwise this as a custom Street Machine-ish kind of vehicle has not been released, except for the one time in the late 1990s that this kit was done as what almost was a one-off. Obviously it's been reissued now, so it's not a one-off anymore, but yeah, that's out there if you want to. Ford Starliner is a really nice model kit just in general in terms of AMT kits, probably one of the better ones. Top 5 of the Mueller era kits, I'd hazard to say, in my personal opinion, but your mileage may vary with that. Over at Revell, just one kit, and it is a reissue of the big 1/12 scale 69 Camaro Z28. This is a 3-in-1 stock street and drag. I'm guessing the street in here is probably a little more of the Foose parts, because it did come out as a Foose release in 1/12 scale probably 10 years ago at this point, 8-10 years ago. The rest of it is a carryover from the 1980s when this kit was done up originally. Other than obviously having brand new decals in it, there's nothing to write home here about. It is sort of a blown up 1/24 scale kit or 1/25 scale kit. It's not overly detailed for 1/12 scale, right? It doesn't have any of the, if you looked at the Mustang box art, you saw it came with wiring and tubing, and that doesn't come in this kit. Never did, but there's no added details to it. It's somewhat rudimentary in the fact that it is basically, like I said, just a blown up smaller kit in terms of the parts content and the detail. Nothing really was done to make this more detailed, even though it is twice as big as the other one. Actually, it's 200% bigger than the other one. But be that as it may, it hasn't been out for, again, like I said, about 10 years, maybe, give or take, in that Foose release. The U.S. boxing of this, for some reason, is dirt cheap, comparatively speaking. Like if you look at this, because there's a Revell Germany boxing of this, and this is the U.S. boxing that we're looking at in this picture, and the Revell of Germany boxing is over $100 by the time you factor in the exchange rate. And this is like $49.99 or so. I'm not exactly sure what the $60 discrepancy is there, even factoring in exchange rates and things of that nature. It's that the difference is not that big. So whatever the reason may be, that kit is back out there. And again, if you buy it through the United States, you can get a pretty good deal on it, assuming you are still interested in the kit. Over at Atlantis, there were 3 releases here before Christmas. I took these pictures at my local hobby shop, so pardon the fact that they're a little blurry. Probably should have looked at them a little better before I left, but be that as it may, here they are. You got the Snake Rail Dragster. This is Don Perdome's AA Fuel Dragster. Obviously, in 124 scale, this is an old monogram kit that came over as part of that tooling purchase that Atlantis did when Hobbico went under. You get an open parachute, driver figure, rubber tires, gleaming chromes, and authentic snake decals. So it's a cool period livery, the Hot Wheels livery on this one. Again, this is like a late 70s, early 80s monogram kit, so it's been around almost as long as I have. You probably have seen one and built one by now. And then this is also another old monogram kit, the rear engine Don Perdome Snake Dragster. And this comes with the Christmas tree, the starting line lights, as well as a standing, this says a seated driver and a standing official. So you get both the figures that are on the box art there, as well as having ignition wire and fuel line and oil lines. So a little bit of detail added into this. Again, considering the age of this and the fact that 112 scale Revell kit doesn't, it's a 112 scale monogram kit really, but again, that big Camaro, no added detail. This 124 scale Dragster, added detail. Things made sense to someone back then, but not to a lot of people since then. And while we're on the monogram bandwagon, the other one is the release of the Tom Daniel Pie Wagon. It's been a little while since this has been out in the Pie Wagon format, and obviously new box art from his son, and the vintage packaging and decals and all that sort of stuff. If you're into your show rod, street rod type things, this was something I know that a lot of people were looking forward to getting back. I just don't get this. We've been on this YouTube channel for nearly 10 years now, and you know that if you've been with me in those 10 years, I didn't get it then, and I don't get it now. I know this is a whole thing for a whole era of people, and I don't disabuse your interest in this kid. I just don't get that. I understand why they were made and all that. I just don't get it. Just don't get it. Over at Salvino's JR, a couple more reissues for the end of the year. The kit of the month, if you will, is this, the Kyle Larson 2024 Chevy Camaro in the Hendrick 40th anniversary livery, the ruby red metallic paint job that all of the Hendrix cars got last year. And then the other release is Brad Keselowski's 2023 Ford Mustang with the King's Hawaiian Roll livery. Of interest, this does come with chrome decals for the sixes on the side of the car. Nice touch there, not just gray or a vague silver. These are legit chrome decals, so that's a nice added touch that'll make it a little more realistic. This will be the last of the 2023 Mustangs. The new tool, the new body, not a new tool kit because the innards don't change, but the new body should be out sometime in late spring of 2025, and therefore we probably will not see any more of this body style Mustang, but one last one going out the door at the end of the year. And then lastly, at Mobius, this is a significantly modified reissue, and that is the 1972 Ford F-350 4x4 tow truck high side version. And if you look a little bit into the high side version on that does mean there is another version of this tow truck to come next year. So keep that in mind if you want to build a fleet of tow trucks. There will be another option for this, probably a different year, but also a different style tow bed as well. So this is probably the most accurately reproduced tow truck bed and hookup system, or just tow system that's ever been kitted. For a lot of light commercial people, this is something that we've wanted forever and ever and ever amen, because while certain tow trucks have certain aspects that are not horribly toy-like, let's face the fact that there's never really been an accurate tow truck done in a light duty capacity, right? There's a couple of heavy duty tow trucks that can do, will do, and things of that nature that are nice tow trucks, but as far as a car tow truck, there really hasn't been a good one. There's been, the bed off of, a couple of old Monogram kits that are kind of okay, but the cab that are on them are not. Things of that nature. So here you got this is the Mobius 72 Ford pickup truck, cab, interior, and things of that nature, with F350 parts added to it. A lot of the F350 parts carry over from the car hauler. Obviously the frame is much shorter here. Four-wheel drive parts, the PTO is in there as well, as far as the drive shaft kickoff to operate the power takeoff to do all the tow bed thing. That's a nice touch. All the new tow equipment, obviously the whole bed and everything like that is brand new, and this is a pretty spiffy kit. It is also about twice as tall as a regular model kit is. It's a little bit longer, a little bit wider than a regular model kit box is, but it is also like twice as deep. They stacked it cheap and sold it, stacked it deep and sold it cheap in terms of contents, but there are a lot of parts in there, and it is in a box, again, much, much bigger than a regular Mobius box. The joke about a Mobius kit, of course, is once you take the shrink wrap off, you'll never get it back into the box again. They're packed under some sort of industrial vacuum to get everything in that thing, so it can be shrunk wrapped. And as soon as you take the parts out, you'll never get them back in again. This one doesn't necessarily have that exact problem, but they're certainly, the box is way bigger. You'll pick it up. If you just see it end on like this, like the box art is, you're like, okay, whatever. And then you get a hold of it, and it's like, oh, it is like Dagwood sandwich thick. So very cool kit. Our podcast co-host Sean Svensson did the box art, did the build up of this. If you go back a whole year, this was debuted basically at NNL East. He built the test shot of it, and it was just red without the decals on it. And yeah, it's really cool. Something I've been waiting for a while. This was debuted as a CAD image at the Las Vegas IPMS Nationals in August of 2021, and it's taken until December of 2024 to get the kit out. So certainly patience is a virtue when it came to that release, but it is finally out there. And again, there'll be another one coming sometime this year. And that'll kick us overseas to the fine country of Japan. We do not have any releases outside of Japan. It is strictly Japan. So going at Aoshima first, they had a couple of, like I said, brand new tool, a couple of modified reissues, and one reissue of a kit that just hasn't been seen for a really, really long time. Doing that sort of in reverse order, the kit that hasn't been seen in a really, really long time is this Honda Accord wagon that is, I believe this would technically have been called the Hippo Sleek back in the day as far as what the name of this thing was. It's completely shaved of trim and emblems, and the hatch handle on the back obviously doesn't have the rear wiper. It's got these monoblock 3-spoke rims on it, and yeah, I mean, you have to kind of really be into a certain era of 2000s Japanese customs lowrider type things to want one of these. But it is the first time this kit's been out in quite a while. Just a recent addition to the Tune Model Car lineup, so it is not been released in this format as of yet. It's going back to like 2020, 2019 when that whole Tune Model Car thing and the model car thing got started, when they started repackaging everything all over again for the 4th time in the 10 years I've done this show, but this one hasn't come out in that packaging. Then going into the modified reissues, first up you have the Subaru BRZ 2021 edition. So this is obviously, they did Toyota 86 in a couple of different versions. There was a stock and a custom rim version. This is the BRZ version of it. Just a few additional parts added to it that are the Subaru specific parts to this kit. Obviously the BRZ and the 86 are twinsies, right? They're same exact car, just with a couple of little bits and pieces of trim. The wheels are different, the front fascia is different. I think the headlights are actually different in this as well. I think there's a rear fascia difference as well. Then of course all of the decals and emblems to make it a Subaru. Much like the 86, this is, in its initial release, as at least only a right-hand drive kit. That kind of sucks, because there isn't a left-hand drive option for one of these new BRZ86s as of yet, but hopefully some point down the road. Other modified reissue is this, the Back to the Future Part 2 Time Machine. So, haha, this is that new tool DeLorean that they've done, right? They did the original movie car, and then they did a DMC-12, a civilian stock, factory stock version of the DeLorean, and this, of course, is the second movie car. I will tell you right now, there's a third movie car coming as well, obviously. This one comes with a stand, which is pretty cool, so you can put this in flight. Be the envy of all your aircraft modeler friends and have an in-flight model of a DeLorean. These are really, really detailed kits in terms of like the fact that like obviously there's a stock version of it and the Back to the Future version of it. So all the parts that you see in the movie car, all the wiring and cabling and all that stuff is all separate, and that makes painting it a lot easier. Obviously, it's a lot more detailed kit in terms of the fit and finish because all these parts are separate and they're not all molded together, and just a lot more utility in the build, if you will, compared to the original curbside versions of these. Now this is still curbside obviously, but not like the old Aoshima version, or God forbid the Polar Light Snap-Tight versions of these, which were a separate kit but even more basic than the Aoshima original ones were. And by the way, if you have the AMT versions of them, those are the Aoshima versions. So yeah, if you really want to build a set of these and you want to hang on to the other ones as collector's items, because they probably will never be reissued again with this new tool being in existence, I think this is there. This will also get a 1/24 scale hoverboard in this. As you recall, Back to the Future Part 2, the skateboards were replaced with hoverboards, and so you get a little 1/24 scale one of those with a couple of different decal options for it, which is pretty cool. And then the new tool kit for Aoshima for the fall was this, the Nissan 180SX. This is of course, we got this here as the 240SX. As of right now, this is a JDM car because it is in a trim package that they didn't sell here in the United States. So even if you wanted to be like, oh, they should left-hand drive that and give us a 240SX, which I think they should, but maybe they will at some point, this specific version of it, they couldn't because we didn't get this trim level here. This is like the highest trim level that came on this car. There are 2 boxings of this as it comes out. This white car you see here and the black car that has a different set of wheels. Much like the Toyota 86, this is the optional wheel version, and that is literally the only difference between the two kits, is the optional wheel. The headlights are up on this black car, but the headlights pop up on both versions of the car. This car has a slightly lower ride height than the white one did. If you don't believe me, go look. But that standard ride height, lowered ride height, again, is in both kits. You are literally purchasing kits here for the wheel choice. One's the factory stock aluminum wheel. The other one is this aftermarket rim. That's, again, the only difference between these two. I have one of these. I have the white one, the factory stock version. It's a very nice kit. It's a basic curbside, typical basic Aoshima curbside kit. It's about 90 to 100 parts or so. Window masks included, but it is a really, really nice 180SX body shape. The only really other version, well, to me it did an earlier version than this, but that is a kit that is incredibly hard to find. They're supposed to be doing a limited reissue of it actually coming up this spring, but right now it's been out of production for probably 15 years or more. And then Fujimi does a couple of these, but they are really cruddy in terms of just the whole thing. The whole thing is a compromise of various Fujimi bits and pieces that they sort of conjured into a kit by making a body for it. And like so many Fujimi kits, the standardized chassis, of course, means that the wheelbase and the dimensions of it are stuck at one point, and they're not necessarily accurate to the car. Go buy this if you really want to buy a 180SX. And you can, again, wait and see if they do a 240SX, or maybe somebody will, do a 3D print of the interior. And basically you need the steering wheel, the dashboard being flipped onto the quote-unquote right side, and obviously left-hand drive wipers, but otherwise we'll see where this one goes. There's another version of this planned for early 2025, backdating it to that Tamiya era of the kit, and with this couple different trim levels that are sort of lesser, luxurious, lesser option versions than this one is. So, yeah, again, pretty cool. We don't get that many new tool kits out of Aoshima anymore, so it's nice to see that one. That takes us over to Fujimi, which are all release reissues, but there is a little bit of interest in this one, and that is this late type Honda Civic Type R. Their Honda Civic kit Type R is an early EK9. It's one of their first model years. The EK9 came available with the Type R. They did a late model version of it, and that was just a swap out of the front bumper, but it wasn't necessarily accurate to all of the differences between an early and a late version of an EK9, and apparently that bothered Fujimi to the point that they tooled a whole new body for this. The innards and everything like that, if you've ever seen one of these Honda Civic Type R kits, and they've been around since the 1990s, then the wheels, the suspension, the chassis plate, all the suspension components, the interior components, all that stuff is exactly the same as it was, but they tooled up a new specific late body for this, so you don't have the compromise of the existing kit, which is pretty nice. It's a pretty decent kit overall. 90s era Fujimi was there's like an era of Fujimi between like 93 and maybe 2005 where they made some really nice stuff, and then there's some nice things that occurred from 2005 to say 2015. They're a little more sporadic. They reissued a lot of old stuff. There weren't a lot of new things done in that era, but like this is a pretty, this and the Integra Type R of the same generation, they're kind of fundamental JDM cars. If you're going to build JDM cars, you need a Type R, you need a Integra Type R. And so there's a little bit of more care to this than maybe some other Fujimi kits would be. That like the Civic and the Integra don't share the same chassis, for instance. Like, wow, who would have thought? But anyway, enough about that. But just a new body. Didn't really see that. That wasn't on my bingo card for 2024. Was a new body, late Type R. Reissued the Toyota FJ Cruiser. You notice here this box art is black and white. And what this was called was the non-paint version. If you know the FJ Cruisers, there's probably a dozen of these around in various different molded in color choices. Pretty much every body color the FJ Cruiser came in with white roofs or not white roofs, depending. And this one is just blank white plastic as far as the body goes. This is your painter version. Finally, I guess. I bought one that was just molded in pearl white. I don't even see any metallic in the plastic. It just looks white to me. So I'm not sure if there was supposed to be pearl in that or not, but be that as it may, this one does come with water slide decals as well as the Mylar decals. So again, regular decals in there for gauges and logos on the outside of the car and stuff like that, but just molded in blank white plastic, the whole thing, so you can choose how you want to paint that. So nifty. A little late to the game. It'd probably be the last one of these that's done, I would expect, but it'd be nice. I know as an American it'd be nice that this was left-hand drive, but it's not. It's Fujimi. They're really not trying to sell kits to the United States, so that's not a surprise. Also done up this month is a reissue of the Toyota Cresta GX71 in the high society thing. So again, bubblegum side plate that you have to add in here. Got the crazy antenna and a little bit of aerodynamics to it. Does actually come with these 4-spoke twist wheels. And this is like another, again, we've done the other GX71 releases. So here's the next in the line of those. There are 3 of them as far as the cars. They were sibling cars in real life, and Fujimi made models of them as well. So I think this is the last of those 3 to be released. And then we had 2 initial D kits done for this month as well. A R32 GTR with the new easy alignment chassis underneath of it in a V-Spec 2, which actually probably will be a halfway decent kit now that it actually has a GTR chassis underneath of it, aka, front all-wheel drive. The biggest issue with all of Fujimi's R32s in the past were they had a generic Nissan rear-wheel drive chassis underneath them, which, a GTR doesn't actually only have rear-wheel drive, it has all-wheel drive. And then the other one is this S13 Sylvia. Aoshima does I think Aoshima actually does both of those. Fujimi and Aoshima have competing initial D series, but this too also has a new easy alignment chassis underneath of it, which in the case of, if you want to pose them like the box art, it does give you the ability to give it a little bit of a lean and pose it ride height and camber and all sorts of things like that. So, The Sylvia kit's not a bad one altogether. The chassis improves it just slightly, but it's a very basic Fujimi curbside. So there is that. Oh, what? One more. I almost forgot. This release of the Nissan Skyline GTR R33. Now, as far as I know, the R33s don't come with a new chassis, so this still has the crappy old rear-wheel drive chassis underneath. But this is the 40th anniversary of Nismo Edition, and what this comes with that previous models did not is a case. You see it sort of outlined up there with what appears to be a Lamborghini Miura underneath of the case, even though Fujimi doesn't make one of those. Be that as it may, it's obviously in a knockdown format to fit in the box. You can sort of see tabs and slots there on the case. So it's going to come in 6 pieces. Right, 6 pieces of plastic and a base kind of thing. Who knows how well that'll fit together? Who knows how well that'll stay together once you have it assembled? I'm not sure that that's necessarily a replacement for a normal model case if you wanted to keep the dust out. But it does have like a little 40th anniversary Nismo plaque that goes inside of it. So, yeah, this particular one of the Nismo decals and stuff like that hasn't been done in quite a while as far as the releases go. But, again, you deal with that mediocre Fujimi-ness of this kit. That'll take us over to Hasegawa for the rest of this video as we get close to the end here. And again, a couple of significantly modified reissues and a couple of decal reissues in here. So first up, we have the Toyota MR2 late version Super Edition 1989. So this is another one of those, they made 300 of them, MR2s. Hasegawa's done 4 of these so far. This does come with a new seat insert. The real car had like a clear mesh in the headrest, and that was added in 1989. It's not in the earlier cars. It was just sort of an open headrest. And you do get a clear plastic piece to sort of replicate that mesh. Now, does it look the best? No, it's a clear plastic piece with a mesh carved into it. And I don't know how you would mold it otherwise. Like if you try to mold a tiny lattice of clear plastic, it would shatter as soon as you try to take it off the tree. So I understand the technological issues with that in terms of like trying to reproduce it. The MR2 kits are pretty nice. This one is looks like a T-top or a heart or a solid metal roof as far as what you have going on there. There are literally two roof options in every one of these MR2s. And I like the dark blue here as far as the color goes, dark blue and gold. That's pretty cool. And then we have this is an Egg Girls reissue, the Jaguar XJS TWR Sports with Haku Rinfa figure. So Resin Girl, all the things, first up. So you get a Resin Girl figure. And then the XJS TWR Sports is the homologated road version of the TWR Group A touring car. And this is a full detail kit. This is one of the old Hasegawa kits that was done in the mid-80s that is full detail. So you get a whole engine, transmission, a whole 9 yards in this one. I'm not sure that you want to pay the extra couple of bucks for the resin figure or not. I'm not sure the TWR Sports kit itself is still in the catalog. So if you specifically want this one, which has additional ground effects and the racing style wheels and stuff like that, you may have to go that way, but be that as it may, it's back out. Then you have this reissue of the Nissan Fairlady Z version R twin turbo 2x2 1988. So you look at this and you're like, that's a weird looking Z32 300ZX. Because we did not see this facelifted front end in the United States. They stopped shipping 300ZXs to the United States in 1996. They continued making them in Japan for another 4 years after that until 2000. And so this facelift that was done in 1997 and carried through the rest of the model year, we never got that. So the xenon headlights and the sort of weirdish looking front aerodam and things like that, and the Recaro seats and things of that nature, we never got that. So there's probably about a half a dozen new pieces added to this. It makes a really unique kit because, again, this vehicle has never been kitted before. There's never been a 2+2 late version, facelifted version of the Z32 Fairlady. But how much do you like JDM cars? This is molded in banana yellow, by the way. I plan to paint mine banana yellow. Actually, I bought the paint for it the other day. It calls for Mr. Color GX4 Chimera Yellow, which is a really, really bright. That's not going to focus. There we go. So it's a really, really bright yellow. It's completely, totally washing out. It's also not shaken up at all, but it's it's about as bright a yellow as the cap is. And now I'm completely out of focus. There we go. Anyway, so I'm not going to fight the monster of the yellow plastic. I'm just going to paint it yellow because I like it. I don't have that many yellow model kits in my collection, just in general. A couple race cars here and there, but not too many street cars. And yeah, I'm going to go with that. Then you have this reissue of their new tool. It's probably 24 months old, new tool now, but their new tool, R32 GTR Group A race car. This is the Taishan SDP 1992 Japanese touring car livery. This is sort of the flip, if you will, of the regular Taishan livery, which is normally a red car with white, or a red car with black stripes. This is a black car with some red accents and silver stripes. This is a one-off, one-year livery. It's pretty unique to the series because none of the other Taishan cars were ever done this way with the silver paint job. And you do have to paint a little bit and decal a little bit. It's not the world's worst two-tone, but it's not very good decal options either. I wish it was a little more robust. Basically, you get the silver pinstriping, and you have to tape off that whole middle part between the door and the belt line, including that little bit up front, which if you really paid attention when it was up there, that red line doesn't go all the way to the bottom of the front fender before the bumper. There's a little gap of black there. That's awesome. It's going to be one of those things where I believe I'm going to try to photocopy the decals and then cut out masks based on the outline of the decals. That would probably be the best way to try to go about that, and know that you need that line to be above where the body is going to end, because the front bumpers are separate on this kit. Anyway, very unique livery. You're going to pay for it in terms of trying to paint it, but cool nonetheless. Next up is this. This is a significantly modified reissue. The Nissan Gazelle S110 early version hardtop 2000 XE2 from 1979. Not only does this have a very unique Nissan Screaming Chicken on the front end, it is also the luxury version of the Nissan Silvia. So they did a Nissan Silvia already. They've done a Datsun, I think technically it was a Nissan 240 RS, and then they released a rally car, which was a Datsun 240 RS, and so this is the Gazelle, again, is the luxury version of the car. So it has new interior, new wheels, and then front and rear fascia differences. Mirrors are different. Probably all told 24 parts or so added to this to make it into this. Again, you got to kind of like the boxy, weird shape of this, but I have one that's pretty cool. And then you have this, which is another 40th edition of the Yukashiro Megadoc series. This is a Isuzu Bellet 1600 GTR late version, the St. Sophia Girls School Automobile Club. You could just pass on this and be like, yay, who cares? But this actually has a bunch of parts added to it. Wheels, the front fascia pieces and the rear fascia pieces to make this, again, a late version 1600 GTR, which was the last year this car was made in this body style. And I hope they reissue it again under the regular kits, because I really don't feel like paying extra for it. But this is sort of necessary in the Bellet line, because this was the last of the cars, it was the most powerful car, and all that nature. It looks really weird with the headlight covers and the big fog lights and the split front bumper and stuff like that. But it's if you in the terms of what these cars were, which were incredibly sporty race car, GTR was an homologated race car, basically. Be nice to have this in the regular kit series. I don't really want to pay the licensing for the anniversary to get it, but it's Hasegawa. I'm sure they'll kick one out eventually. And that, my friends, is that. So I hope everybody had a great 2024. Thank everybody who supported the podcast this year. We have been on break, of course, for a couple of months at this point. In real life, in terms of when you'll see this video, well, we've been back for a couple of weeks. couple of episodes anyway. But be that as it may, I did want to go ahead and record this and get it done and get it out there for you so that you guys could enjoy it and see what you should have bought for the end of the year. And with that, on to 2025, and we'll see you guys on the other side.